Is this where the countdown starts?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Old World Tech Fridays.
Good evening.
This is our last Friday of June.
It is.
Well, it's everybody's last Friday of June. Stop trying to be so,
But we're the first.
Friday grubbing.
In fairness, I am the latest of the time zones, so I get to be not
That
Friday.
is true.
but
It's
first.
Tell you what, we'll meet you halfway. You can have Saturday first.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ay. Let's see. What do we got here? So, we are joined by my co-host Ryan of Everything's Broken Garage and Ron of Ron's Computer Videos.
It's true.
No Trina again this week.
Nope.
She has a local event that she is joining this evening.
That is 100% not true. You saw her on that milk carton the same as I did. So
She fell asleep in the wrong spot and was
It
kidnapped.
happens to you.
Yep.
So, who do we got in the chat this evening, Ryan?
We have one Thomas Armstrong. How's it going, Thomas? We have we're blessed with the presence of Jesus Christ. JC is here.
Love it.
There's some fellow from Everything's Broken Garage. Don't know who that is. There's some fellow again from Joe's Computer Museum. Does anybody have any idea who that is?
JCM-1.com.
JCM-1.com. We also have a Frodo Jedi. We have Scarlet the Four-Eyed Cuda. And Jeremy's Vintage Hillbilly Shack just joined us. So thank you all for joining us. We know you have your choice in Friday evening entertainment.
Why are you taking my line?
Because it's such a good line.
I guess so.
I was going to make reference to ABC's TGIF because how can you compete with 90s goodness?
You should just say it's like NBC's summer schedule, where if you haven't seen it, it's new to you.
Right.
That's true.
Yep. Wasn't that such a weird time? It's where it would just be like, I missed it, and I got to wait 3 months, and it'll be on again.
Yeah,
I can check the TV guide and figure out I could finally watch that episode of Dynasty.
Gosh, I can't remember the last time I saw a TV guide.
I saw a Reddit post. I think it was a Reddit post. It might have been Twitter, where they were talking about how kids today will never understand the terror that was going to the bathroom or going to get a drink or a snack while your show was playing.
Yes.
And then someone had commented, a younger person to comment down below, say, well, couldn't you just pause it?
You could. You could.
Yeah,
if you had something fancy like
a
TiVo or the DVR or whatever, but at that time there was no
But in the 90s,
thing.
that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yes,
or before that. I remember growing up that like there were certain nights of the year that were just special because that was the night of the year that The Wizard of Oz was on TV before like that there was a real robust home video market. And I mean, you know, you would sit down and you would watch it with not limited commercial interruptions. So people could get up and go and use the restroom and grab some popcorn or something like that. But it always seemed like to me that we'd start watching it. You'd be at grandma's house and then it would be like, all right, well, we got to go home. And it's like, you better like pedal to the metal to get before we're back from commercials so you can watch the rest of the show.
Because you probably got a 5-minute window with most commercial breaks, right?
Yeah, in the late 70s, early 80s, yeah, they were like oppressively, especially for big events.
Yeah.
I mean, now granted, you were kind of screwed if it was Peanuts, those Peanut specials, because they were all sponsored by Dolly Madison brand, like pies and cakes and like hostessy kind of things.
Right.
And so the ads were baked into the cartoon. So you just had to hold it.
That's funny. I remember reading a thing about TV coming to Newfoundland and how people didn't understand the technology, and I suppose it was the same elsewhere. But this one guy talked about how his father would get upset that somebody used up the television and he missed part of his show. So he would come home and the clock might not be accurate on the wall, and he might start watching it at 6:35,
Mhm.
but thinking it's 6:30. And so when there was 5 minutes of the show gone, he would get mad, thinking someone had started watching TV
Yeah.
earlier in the day and had used up
all our TV.
all
Actually,
the TV.
that's really funny you say that, because my father-in-law, like, was on my mother-in-law about that you used up all the TV, like literally using those words. You used up all the TV in 2024. And
What was the preface of the comment?
so what it ended up being is that a long time ago, I convinced them to get rid of cable or not cable, get rid of Dish Network, because their Dish Network bill was like $300 and something a month, and I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
what all do you have on here? It was like
Well, there's
there's no way.
14 Turner classic movie channels.
Right.
Your
So
father loves those.
exactly. So they had mostly, and all they really wanted to watch, they wanted to watch sports, and they wanted to watch movies. And I was like, if you're paying for a bunch of other stuff that you don't really care about,
Mhm.
then why pay for it? And so I was like, switch, get rid of Dish Network. You can get real internet out here. And by real internet, I mean like DSL or something like that. But it was still like 15 megabit DSL, 15 megabit down, because it kind of lived out. 15 megabit down, 5 megabit up. And I was like, that's perfect. That's plenty to stream just regular HD content. And so I got them all set up, and I was like, yeah, you got like Roku boxes, you got all the shit, you're ready to go. And then didn't hear anything about it. Everything, so I'm guessing everything is great. And then it was, well, your mom used up all the TV today. And what it came down to is, I guess, some flim flam convinced them to get rid of the DSL and roll it into their cell phone bill. So they had a little hotspot that had like a 5 gig a month like limit or some nonsense like that.
Foolishness.
And so so they were paying for like Disney Plus and ESPN and Hulu, and they were paying for some like Netflix or some other streaming thing. They're paying like, so it was like penny wise pound foolish on, on all this. So so they ended up screwing it all up, and finally it was just like, you guys just need to go back to the DSL connection or something. And they were like, oh no, we're on the outs with them now. We're feuding with them. Okay, well that sounds great. So just set an antenna up and pretend it's the 70s again.
Yeah. Or are they Starlink people? Would they be able to get?
No, because that would be really, really expensive. So no.
You guys don't have fiber out that way?
They kind of live out in the country a little bit, so it's
What's the penetration now for broadband in America? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse?
I think it's not great. They tried to do a lot of stuff, especially during the pandemic, and there have been a lot of this rural Wi-Fi and rural internet initiatives, because I mean, once you get outside the major cities, and then there's a lot of the Midwest that's absolutely just like, like nothing. Like it's a little tiny town. Like, and it's so funny because like some of these tiny towns now have really amazing internet because of all these government initiatives, all this money that was made available to do all that. Well, now largely that's all dried up. Right. And even people that lived in town like me, they had it all set up to where they had, basically like an offset where you could, like during the global pandemic, they take $35 a month or something like that off your internet bill.
Oh, that's nice.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but here's the deal. Originally, it was for people in like a certain sort of like tax bracket, and then they just were like, no, anybody can do it. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I signed up for it, and it was literally like 3 years or something of just $35 a month off my internet bill. But I just went ahead and I just paid the full amount. I think I now own like a quarter of the assets of Charter Communications. I think that's based on like they've got a Scrooge McDuck pile of money over there that's mine. Because I just paid the full amount every month because I'm like, who knows how long this is going to last. 3 years later. It's like a huge, like, I mean, I don't have to pay for years. It's crazy.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They didn't get internet out here where I live until June of 2019.
Wow.
There was nothing available. Nothing.
Not even air.
Well, you can get 1 bar of data if you put your cell phone in the window.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
there's
was
lots of
pretty
folks
much
that
it.
still do that.
Yeah.
So, I was in Colorado and I spent a bunch of time. I was literally on top of a mountain, and you had to wait for other people to cease their phone usage so that you could use the phone. And that's just like phone call, not data.
Wow.
Data. I mean, it's all technically data,
Yeah.
but it was like just to make a phone call. It was like Watson, I need you. Like, it was just really terrible
Yeah.
quality. So, yeah, it was something else.
String up a tin can and a bit of wire.
Yeah. It's like all
Well,
that
I
cool
remember
stuff out
when
there
I was younger,
with antennas.
we had dial-up, and then at the time, the only other thing that was available was HughesNet satellite internet.
Mhm.
And they had the data caps. And if you watched like 3 YouTube videos in a 24-hour period, like yours went down to pretty much dial-up speed.
Yeah. Mhm.
You know,
And if I remember
was
correctly,
all that was available.
That was dial-up out, satellite back, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was an era where it went bi-directional, but I had that because it was like HughesNet or something, and it was Direct Way was what it was called, because it was ran by Hughes, who has DirecTV. I actually subscribed to that in the mid 90s because I found somebody that was selling one of the dishes really, really cheap. And so it's like a foot long ISA card for your computer.
Okay.
And so you had to have a computer that was on all the time that basically acted as the router. Then you could have other devices on your network connect to it. But you still had to have a modem, and you still had to have a subscription with your like dial-up ISP, so that way to get the data out.
Yeah.
But there were 2 packages, and the first package was basically, it was like 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. So
like
it's
off peak
business package, and that was one price. And then there was like the evening package, and that was a different price, which was considerably cheaper. Because again, they were thinking that all their customers were businesses. So I, for a while, just did the evening package just to play around with it and all that. But we used the businesses because I took it to work, because I worked for Micro H of all companies. We had a little Micro H office, and it was all of our stuff was just done on dial-up, and it was really, really terrible. And so we even had like shotgun modems and things like that. It was just awful. But I personally signed up for this because I'm trying to convince the business they needed to get one of these. And I just did it at night, and I brought the owner by and showed him off, and he was like, wow, this is really, really great. Like, how do I get this at my house? And I was like, oh, it's simple. You do this, you buy this, you get these things. Let me know. I'll help you set it up. And so he bought all the stuff, and it just lived at his house. So he never did it for the business. But I just convinced the other people there, because I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great to have fast internet while you're at work? But I mean, there wasn't like social media or anything to like hold your attention all the time. It was just like, oh, I got to download this thing. Or it was nice to just go to a website, and it was like super snappy to do whatever it is you wanted to do. But I signed up for that package. It was really expensive. It was like $125 a month, but we split it between like 20 employees.
Right.
So
cool.
It was great.
The old days of the Wild West of the internet.
I know.
I remember we had dial-up. I think we got it around 93, 94.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember we were one of the first people to get Roadrunner high-speed internet at the time, which was like DOCSIS 1 cable internet.
Yeah.
And that was the Wild West.
Yeah.
Because you were all on a node with each other. You could see other people's printers. You could.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when it was completely flat.
Yeah.
Like the network's completely flat. When our town got cable modem service, it was very much like that. There was actually somebody in town that just uncapped his modem and wasn't responsible about it, and so like immediately got like pinged for like, hey buddy, you're using all the data.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we could go take the filter off the side of the house, and that would allow you to get all the cable channels, so like 24 cable channels.
Yeah.
But it would also allow you to do some interesting things with your modem to again get better speeds or get symmetrical speeds, because ours
that
was
was
traditionally terribly asymmetrical.
Yeah. Ours
And
is
so
still not great.
Yeah.
I think my internet all these years later is like, because I remember when I first signed up, because when Spectrum Charter brought it to town, they had a bunch of different packages. There was one, it was like 34K down, 128K up or something.
Yeah.
And then they had like the middle package was 768K down, 128K up. And then they had one that was, and then the high end, really expensive package, 1.5 megabit down, 256K up.
Yeah.
It was like $300 a month or some ridiculous shit. I mean, just the jump in price. It was just sort of like the base package. It was like the web surfer package, and then it was just like it was like the professional package, and then it was like lube up, buddy, because it's it's way up here. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I remember. I think our first package with the internet from high speed, my mom looked at the cost of like getting a second phone line and keeping the Simpatico unlimited dial-up, and it worked out. It was the same price as just getting the Roadrunner, which I want to say it was like $50 a month, maybe, or $45 a month, and it came with, I believe, it was 128K down and 512 or maybe 768 up. It wasn't very fast.
Yeah,
faster than dial-up.
Yeah, it's nuts. I think these kids today, they take it for granted. Their movies download in seconds. You ain't got to download no DivX codec these days.
Real media player. What's that?
Having to download DivX player, and VLC was cool when it finally came out.
Oh, because you were like, oh my god, it plays everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Right. And then I remember like torrenting stuff in the early 2000s.
LimeWire.
Well, yeah, peer-to-peer first, and then torrenting.
Yeah, uTorrent, BitTorrent.
Kids with uTorrents.
Hey, listen, I remember using Usenet. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's still around. That's still a thing.
I still use it.
Yeah. But the when South Park first came on, I was part of a group, and we would like encode the episodes of South Park when they aired, like new episodes and things like that, and put them online. And so we encoded them in real video, or like
nice.
Yeah. So it was like we did like a low bitrate version and a high bitrate version. So that way, I mean, because it can compress really well. Because again, it's just like pretty much flat colors and everything. So at least in the very beginning, it's
Yeah, and I remember having the option to download two different files. Like when you were on LimeWire or you were on whatever, it was like, here's the low quality one for dial-up internet, and here's the good one for the good one.
The low quality stream, the high quality stream. And you know what? That actually kind of lives on in a way in the UK with radio, because the DBS, or maybe that's the wrong initialism, but it's like when they turned off regular terrestrial radio, switched everything over to the digital band. There's a ton of I mean, just the wealth of choice of content in the UK for like radio content. And I guess there's a lot of channels that are still out there that broadcast that are like 64K.
Right.
You know, like they're really low, but they're music. They're not like, it's maybe not like, but that's when they were divvying up the spectrum.
Right.
They were just like, they gave them that much bandwidth.
64K, here you go.
Because it was easier for like those people to get like lower bandwidth, to get, but a different place kind of on the digital dial.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I know the BBC does a lot of that, where it'll be like some of like the top content is like, I feel like Techmoan. It's that the top content has all the actual
bandwidth.
It sounds really nice, but most other things are just like AM radio sounding. So
I need you, Watson.
Farm report.
JC said Winamp. All I can think of is like it really whips the llama's ass.
Yeah.
The release group, I think the website was called like SP Central. I didn't actually run the website. I just encoded the video. So
So this
And
is
then-
the video part of Ron's computer video.
Yeah, and eventually they did get a when they finally, like a couple seasons in, when they were like, they started to do VHS releases, because again, DVD was not really a thing at that time. They started to do VHS releases. It was at that point that they were like, okay, we've got our established audience. Thank you everybody for all your heavy lifting with helping us build popularity, but please discontinue this. And so it was like,
Please stop pirating everything.
that's fine. And I just moved over. There was another group. It's called the Digital Archive Project, DAP Central, where basically it was like stuff that was just never going to get a VHS or at that time a home video release.
So like Lost Media.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's
it was
pretty cool.
basically it was like archiving project, and it started out from Mystery Science Theater 3000, and it
Okay.
got out to other shows like Duckman and like some Adult Swim shows, because again, these were like in the early days of Adult Swim, it was like Baby Blues. Like no, that's never gonna get. And probably now you can buy it on streaming. You can get
sure they probably have a Blu-ray of it at this point.
I'm sure there's
at the
a
time.
Blu-ray. It's been remastered.
Dr. Katz.
Dr. Katz. That was another, actually, that was one of the shows, because it was
Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, when they started getting into their original content, then it was like we didn't really mess with that. But like
What's
all
the one? Super Jail.
Super
That was
Jail.
another one. Super
Yeah.
Jail.
Or Space Ghost, Coast to Coast.
Space
That
Ghost,
was one
Coast
of the
to
ones
Coast.
that I helped with quite a bit.
Yep.
Because I had a huge VHS tape archive of Coast to Coast episodes.
That's awesome.
And they were really bad about cutting those up and pulling musical cues out and stuff. So you'd have multiple versions of the same episode. And I think there was even a point at the end where they kind of realized they were doing that. So like there's episodes called like Kentucky Nightmare, where there's like 6 different versions of the show, where they would just like a little bit different. They would change the order of segments and things like that. So if you wanted every version, you had to encode every version.
Right.
So, or I can't remember. There's one. It's called like Fire Ant, where Space Ghost just follows a little ant around the whole episode. He's, hold on, Moltar, and then he's just like, it's just like he's just like
fixated
watching the ant. And it's like he's just going through like all of these like backgrounds and stuff, and then at the end, he's like, there's like a giant ant, and he's like, let me tell you what your kid did. He's like, oh no. So, but it's literally like 30 minutes long.
My favorite weird thing like that is there's an episode of Monty Python where they run out of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So like, sorry, we have 10 minutes of the film. They come out, they're like, wait a minute, there's 10 minutes of footage we need to fill. What are we going to do? And they're just like, well, here's a Shakespearean knight playing in the ocean. And it literally just goes for like 15 minutes of this scene of this guy frolicking in the ocean.
Yeah, it's a troll, but it's also like pushing the edge of comedy. I get it.
Yeah,
it's
funny.
uncomedy.
Yes, indeed.
Anti-comedy. So I do love all that stuff, though. It's really, really great.
When you said about cutting film and stuff, for some reason my mind went to Rocko's Modern Life, where Big Ed's son was doing the film, and he was literally on the cutting room floor cutting pieces and taping it together.
Oh yeah.
I watched the guy who does Perry the Platypus. I'm trying to remember his name.
Perry the Platypus?
He does Phineas and Ferb. He's the voice of the evil doctor.
Oh, yes. What is that guy's name?
He's on Instagram. He's hilarious. Anyway, he worked on Rocko's Modern Life. He's one of the main writers.
Oh, that's awesome.
And,
I used to watch that all the time.
He talked about how they had they were like, was there any time? Someone asked him, was there any time that you weren't allowed to put something in an episode? Because there's a lot of like adult jokes in Rocko's Modern Life that were definitely pretty close to being understood by the people watching it who were not adults.
Sure.
And it was the episode where Heifer gets put on the milk making machine.
Oh my god!
And instead of obviously being milked, he's being Anyway,
well,
in the episode, they wanted to put hearts in his eyes when he finally passes out.
Yeah.
Oh my
from
god!
enjoying it. They couldn't do that, so they had to put stars in his eyes. And they said that's the only time they told us we couldn't make.
I always thought it was funny that his name was Heifer, when a heifer is a female cow that hasn't been bred yet. So I just thought that was like the weirdest, funniest thing when I was a kid. It's like, why do they call him Heifer? That's not a heifer, because I grew up on a farm. So it was like,
but unpopular opinion I have is I don't like Ren and Stimpy.
I
know,
wasn't a huge fan either. It was one of those ones that was too weird. I mean, I like
Usually
Two
people get
Angry
very
Beavers.
defensive when I say that.
I like Two Angry Beavers, but I didn't like Ren and Stimpy. It was just too weird for me.
John Kay is a horrible human being. It is okay to not like Ren and Stimpy.
It is okay.
I will say that like that came on at a time when there were not subversive cartoons for kids. Things were very, very sanitized, and so I will say that like the early episodes, Space Madness and all that, like that early stuff was really great. It was very unique. It was very Bob Clampett slash like a Tex Avery kind of zany. I mean, it was really great. And then later, when people figured out that he was a creep and it all got redone, it was awful. And then the most recent stuff, where I guess he got some of the branding back and all that and made some new stuff, equally terrible, maybe even more terrible because it's super homophobic.
Yeah.
So
Joe says Two Angry Beavers sounds like a lesbian porno. I read somewhere a few years back about that show, and somebody did say that the actual writing was based on a lesbian couple, like the dynamic of them living together and whatnot. So I don't know if it's true. It's one of them fan fiction, probably things online, like a lot of shows have.
People read a lot of things.
Where they read
a lot of things.
Yeah,
I
read
will
into
say,
things.
I've never seen an episode of Two Angry Beavers, but I do like that Nick Bakay got a paycheck for that. He is a very funny guy. He was the voice of one of the characters.
One of the characters. Now, kind of backing up a little bit, we were talking about like old satellite technology and things like that. What I think is funny is when I was younger and even up through high school, my stepdad was a communications engineer, and he had one of the old ass satellite dishes that still worked.
Big ugly dish.
Yes. And we had to use like 5 different boxes if you wanted to change channels.
Yeah.
Because you had to point it to the right thing, and then you had to do something with the L&B on it.
Right.
And then you had to fine tune. And
I like how you say L&B.
So many steps.
On those, it's the horn.
The horn.
Yeah.
But, well, there was an LNA and an L&B.
Right.
The 2 different parts on the thing. But like it was just like so convoluted to change channels. It was like, fuck this, it was one of them things where it's too much hassle.
I think people had a lot of time back then.
Yes.
And again, a lot of that was completely unregulated because you were not subscribed to a service. You just basically bought the dish.
Yes.
You were just like, it was unencrypted. So it's hitting the earth and you just happen to be there to pick it up.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing time because you would see like it's CNN is getting ready to come on, or somebody else, and it's just like people screwing around on set, and then it would just be like, okay, well, now countdown, and then that was what the feed that they would send to the cable, so it was really great.
Do you remember the movie Stay Tuned, where the couple got sucked into the satellite dish?
No.
You have to look it up. There's a movie about a couple that gets sucked into a satellite dish. It's called Stay Tuned. And I remember when I was younger seeing that, it freaked me out because my grandparents had just got a satellite dish.
Oh my God.
Like one of those big mesh black ones.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Big ugly dish. Yep. 1992.
Batteries not included.
What? That's nothing to do. That's like the little alien robots.
No, I know.
Is that the episode of the Two Angry Beavers?
Batteries not included.
Yeah. John Ritter, Pan Dauber, and little problematic these days, Jeffrey Jones.
Yes.
Oh, yep.
Yes.
Yeah. I like how he was killed instantly in the opening credit for the trailer or in the opening trailer for the new Beetlejuice movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, and he's dead.
Interesting.
CDI makes a good point. Talking about SAT stuff, there's an uber rare Adaptec Direct TV card, apparently.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't doubt
no kidding. That's pretty neat.
I actually, I'll tell you what, now that the statute of limitations is up, I had, I was a DirecTV subscriber for, oh my God, like a decade. Like from the very, very beginning, because I worked for, let's see, who did I work for? I never talk about this place, but I used to work for this little place
Oh, Montgomery Ward.
called Montgomery
Yes.
Ward. That they gave us a nice deal on the satellite boxes and stuff, and there was actually there were a couple of different setups where you could buy them, and RCA was the big one in the very very beginning, and then there were 2 subscription services that you had to subscribe to if you wanted to use it. You had to have one at a minimum, or otherwise it was just the demo channel crap. But it was like you had DirecTV and another company called USSB, and USSB was basically anything that had to do with like movie channels or like MTV or Comedy Central. So if you wanted, like, because those are Viacom, or at least at that time were like a lot of Viacom properties.
Right.
So if you wanted that, you absolutely had to subscribe to this second service, which was like DirecTV, I think at the very beginning was like $25 a month. And then USSB for basically, I think it was just like HBO, MTV, and Comedy Central, $10 a month. So $35 a month, pretty cheap, compared to cable.
Yeah.
But you basically that was kind of it. And they had 2 packages, and it was like you bought, or hardware, you bought one, and it was like a single connection out there on the LMB, or you had there was a second package where it included like a different LMB and 2 receiver boxes. Right. But I'm thinking it was like $300 or something like that for the hardware, and then you have the recurring monthly cost. But as a person that worked in retail at just the right time, I think it was like $99 if you wanted the single, or $199 if you wanted the dual. And so absolutely signed up, got the single hookup, and played with it forever. And in the very, very early days, the DirecTV rep that would come to the store had a card that you could put in Hue, or there were F cards or something in the very, very beginning. They changed the card several times over the years, but I think like the F card, like the original one, he had a little smart card reader in his laptop. Well, I say a little, it was a little box, and would plug it in, and he'd be like, all right, well, I've added such and such to your thing. And it wasn't like anything that was like real subscription stuff, but it was like they had special channels that were like, it's test channels where it's nothing but like test tones or video, like, calibration stuff and all that. So it was really neat that you would like have a little bit of extra stuff. And then later, when piracy really took off, I picked up an extra box, and just because with the programmers and stuff, you could just enable the test channels. That was like a whole other world of interesting stuff that you could just watch. It was hundreds of different channels. Some of them, they would only broadcast like a few minutes a day, because they're just like, make sure this uplink is up, and then that's it. So you would scan through, and you would see like, just like, somebody's just standing there in front of a camera smoking.
Yep.
And it's like, is this the adult channel? I don't know. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum, but, and they would be like, okay, well, let's go ahead. And it'd be like a corporate meeting for something that they were absolutely like, rebroadcasting or whatever. So I always, the entire time I had hardware, I always maintained a subscription. And then it got to be a point where my son got a little older, and we were like, we don't have time to watch TV, and I just dropped it all. Because for a while, DirecTV had a couple of channels that were just strictly kids channels. Yep. It was called Sprout, that was by PBS.
Yep.
That they had their own one, and Obi lived on that channel when he was really, really little. And then there was another weird one that DirecTV had that was called Baby First TV, that was just all really strange European like kid shows.
Caillou 24/7.
Caillou was on PBS Kids, and we watched the hell out of it. But there's 2 versions of Caillou.
Yeah, there's the asshole Caillou and the not asshole Caillou.
Yeah, there's one that's like traditional hand animation that was on PBS, and then there's like one that was produced strictly in Canada that is flash animated.
Yes, that's newer,
and that's little bald Jesus Caillou.
Yeah.
And we still joke about that. It'll be like we still joke about that show. But
that's funny.
When we first got satellite, it was Prime Star at the time. And then it turned into, I think, Dish Network or something. I think bought Prime Star.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's what we first had.
So
Yeah.
Here, satellite is kind of only popular in the outskirts because our weather is so terrible. It's like I remember when I first moved out with my wife, um, we wanted to get cable, and we were broke. But I worked at the source, and I had some connections. So I said, okay, well, I'll reach out to my the source, which was Radio Shack, and they were able to get me Shaw Direct Satellite, which is a Canadian similar to DirecTV.
Yeah.
But it was really cheap, and I got AMC because at the time the Walking Dead had just started.
I remember AMC.
And we were like, I got to watch The Walking Dead. Right?
Yeah, I love the like just the difference in kind of some of those things where it's just like because that feels like such a new show to me. I'm
But
sure
it's
it's been on
12
10 years.
Sure.
12 years now, yeah.
Yeah.
12, 13 years, right?
I'm thinking like when I first got it, it was like there's this brand new show.
24. It's coming out from 2000.
No, there's this brand new show with it's called, but it's a fake funny like show about like current topics and interesting stories and stuff with this guy named Craig Kilborn. It's called The Daily Show.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Which was not anything like Jon
The Daily
Stewart's
Show.
Daily Show. Yeah.
I remember hurrying up home because Star Trek came on after school on TNT, and The Pretender and Law and Order. Those were shows that came on.
For me,
TNT.
it was like I Love Lucy used to come on after school, and then all the 70s sitcoms would get. But my favorite was MASH, so I would come home and I would watch MASH.
Yeah, MASH is fun out of order because it's like
it is.
What the hell is Honeycutt doing here this week? It was just right. It was just the good one.
Yeah,
the good one was just on here.
Yeah, that's funny. But I actually emailed. I remember being in high school emailing Alan Alda, and he actually wrote me back. I was pretty impressed. Yeah,
was it sort of like it was like an email that just wouldn't end? It just kept
going. It was like 3 lines. Thanks for your email. Appreciate the fan. Whatever. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, it's so strange. These keyboards for computers. They just I can't do it like Bill Burr, or not Bill Burr, but whatever that guy.
I was watching something the other night, and they made it was The Simpsons. Homer was interviewing someone, and he went into a full Columbo, and it was priceless because I'm like, nobody watching this because it's a newer episode of The Simpsons. It was like last season.
Is gonna get the reference.
He's gonna understand the fact this is a Columbo reference.
Yeah, it's for the right people.
Right. Yeah.
Going back a few minutes, Ron working at Montgomery Ward.
Yeah.
I can remember when my aunt.
Hold on, he has to put his badge on.
I have to put my name. There.
I remember when my aunt graduated high school.
He said the key for the lockbox, Ron?
No, this is called a one key. This lets you do manager overrides on stuff. But when you first got there, you had a black thing, like tag, and then you got a silver tag, and then you got a gold tag if you were there a really long time. I was there a really long time.
My aunt Rachel graduated high school in '96, and I went with my grandma to Montgomery Ward to purchase a computer that she was going to use for her freshman year at college. Nice. It was a Compaq Presario.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
So, Ron, when you started at Montgomery Ward, was it like Commodore 64s?
No.
And then, like
they still had typewriters.
What error?
Actually, I'll tell you.
Underwoods. They had mechanical Underwood typewriters.
I think when I started there, like maybe the fastest PC machine that was there was like a 486 DX266. That would have been
but that was a good machine though.
Just amazing. And
so like late 89, 90, 91?
No, man. This would be like 1993 or something like that. So 1992.
83. Oh, you're selling VIC 20s, were you?
Yeah. But but no, actually I know because I went there to sell Macintosh stuff.
Right.
Because they didn't have anybody that could sell Macintosh stuff. They had no idea. All they knew was that the Macintosh stuff paid a lot when you sold it.
Right.
And so everybody wanted to sell it. And so they took a chance on me as a kid because I was pretty young. I was like 17.
Are we
Ron was Dave from Hackers.
We're making like all these ABBA references, and I just want to break into song. Take a chance. I was young.
They took a chance on me, but the the original line of Performa machines were in store.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So and they were like the Performa 200, which was like I think like the Classic, and then like Performa 400, Performa 600. I think those are the
So-
originals. So it was like the Macintosh Classic, the LC2, and the 2VI or 2VX, one or the other, which were
These
not
guys.
not amazing machines, but yeah, but
So
okay machines.
So did Montgomery Ward get very like specific models that were specific to them?
No, because in the very beginning of the Performa stuff, it was just basically it was like Sears got them, Sam Goody, not Sam Goody, but like the Wiz.
I'm the Wiz.
Yeah, but like all the stores got the same ones, and then they very quickly realized that nobody could like if one place like they were like we've got to get rid of all these, and somebody like marked the price way down, when stores used to more actively price match things against other local places and not just Amazon, they would it was bad because it was like, well, you just murdered the margin on this machine, because if I'm a salesperson and I sell I'll fast forward it a little in time to like a 6100, like a Power Max 6100. I think the spiff on that, or the commission on that, was close to $200.
Wow.
They would in 90s money.
Wow.
So that's
Much
what
respect.
margins. So Montgomery Ward made money, Apple made money, I made money selling one. It was like probably right around $200. And then those early, but the thing that was nice though is, again, because we sold the 6116 and Sears sold the 6115, and the Wiz sold the 6117 that had slightly tweaked little software packages. So that way that if it was a situation of, well, I want to price match this machine. They're not the same. They're not even the same model number. The software's different. This is different. It's got the mouse ball is like slightly grayer. It's like there was enough of a difference.
That probably helped for returns too.
It did. It
People
helped
trying to buy it.
Yes,
it helped one place.
Returns. You never had to do a price match. Everything was the same. But Packard Bell, like IBM, because the PS1 series, all those type of machines, IBMs were really expensive, but it was the same model number across multiple places. So you were constantly having to like price match and dicker around with all that. And it was not a lot of fun. So also, but I was also the only person there. Well, my friend Latham Montgomery, super smart guy. One of the brightest people I've ever met in my entire life. Don't know why he was working at Montgomery Ward, other than he was like a stereo head, so he was like just working there for the discounts. But we would go through and install the CD-ROM kits and the sound cards and things like that for other people, and yeah, so it was just like also my friend Dwayne McShane. I haven't spoken to him in quite a long time, but we just had a little racket where other people, if they wanted to sell the computer and sell the upgrades and do all the stuff, because very few machines in the beginning had all those accessories, you would you turn around and be like, well, tell you what, just when you go to ring it up, ring my name in with you, we'll split the commission on whatever it is, and I'll install the kit for you. And at that point, it was like, oh, I already know what this machine is. It's DOS 622, Windows 3.1, and I got a floppy with the like the auto exec and the config sys and all the drivers and stuff, and you run a batch file, and it's like, okay, there you go. I know on this model we set this IRQ and this DMA, and that's it. Now you're done.
IRQs. That is a name I haven't heard in many years.
Yeah, my gosh.
Yeah. No, it was such a fun time to be involved with all that stuff. So,
yeah, it's cool. I worked at the radio. Well, it was called the Source at the time, but it was essentially Radio Shack in 2005 to 2008. I want to say seven, maybe. But yeah, I remember the spiffs. I remember kickbacks from like selling a warranty on a cable. Man, it was the wild. Again, to use the same analogy, it was the Wild West.
Yeah,
like we'd have people come in, and I'm sure my NDA is long expired, but a cable like an S-Video, a 6-foot S-Video cable, we would sell for $29.99.
Right.
A Next Tech or Radio Shack brand.
Yeah.
I could see the cost to the company was 29 cents.
Yeah.
right? And we sold it for $29.99.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
on
it was
top of
one
that,
of those
I'd
things where
sell
our
a $5.
cable is way higher quality. You can't use a cheap
Yes, exactly.
cable. It's not going to work
gold
as well.
plated.
Yes.
And then I would sell a warranty on the back of it, like, oh, maybe your cat gets in there and chews on it. But
Yeah.
for $4, I'll replace the cable. Well, I used to get half of that. I get $2 of the $4 warranty, right?
Yep.
And so it would not be hard to make double my salary in a day from that kind of stuff.
Or the whole thing of signing people up for like the store card.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Battery Club.
Yeah, the Battery Club. I was a member of the Battery Club.
Battery of the Month Club.
Because I'm saving up for that 9-volt, baby. But the Montgomery Ward, they always had it where they had anybody could do the credit card thing.
Yep.
And you just basically do a real simple credit check on them, put their driver's license number, things like that. And you got, I think it was $2 or $3 if they were rejected, and you got like $5 or something if they were accepted. So you could very easily do across an 8-hour shift, do like a couple of credit card apps, and there's like, man, a nice meal at Garfield's in the mall, you know, or
God,
something
I remember
like
Garfield's.
that.
Jesus,
yeah,
that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
The remove a back. All right, I smell a T-shirt. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a T-shirt of some sort.
Yep. Remove a battery a month.
Ronnie O'Shack.
Ronnie O'Shack. But that's I remember for us it was you get them on the credit card because it was a Source. I think it was a MasterCard. You get them on the credit card, and then you would get like a $50 or $100 for getting them on the credit card kickback.
Oh wow!
And then you could like compound it. So if they bought a computer on the credit card and you did a monthly payment plan for them, they would pay a $60 or $70 min fee for that. You got half of that plus the $100 to get them on the credit card. Then if you sold a warranty on top of that laptop on the credit card, which they also split up into monthly payments, you got a kickback of that as well because there was an administration fee. See, I remember making, not to toot my own horn, I was the best part-time salesperson in Newfoundland for Radio Shack for a while. And I actually sold more and did more sales than some of the full-time guys that were there.
Well, it's you did an amazing job because, as we all know, Radio Shack is still here.
Yep, so
still kicking.
Yep.
I can't wait to go later today to get my 9-volt battery.
You've been saving up for?
Been saving up all these years.
Redeeming that card. Yep,
that's right.
Do I remember correctly? Did you get a free battery on your birthday? Was that a thing?
Did. Yeah. Did. And actually, if you were like me, if you were like just kind of a grubby looking little kid, you could go in there and they would absolutely have like Rainbow Magazine and like the little Tandy magazine and stuff that had programming stuff in it and all that. And they would go in the back and they would make the world's shittiest photocopies for you, or give you like, oh, this is the one that's 3 months old.
Yeah,
and they would give you the old copies and stuff like that. So I very much I have lots of good feelings about Radio Shack as even as a zombie brand these days, because the people in the store that chain smoked the entire time they were there were very nice to me, and we're very like oh yeah, just give, hey Ronnie, what's going on? So
I remember getting excited when they came out with that Q mouse that scanned the barcodes in the Radio Shack catalog.
Yeah.
PS2, Q-Cat. You plugged it in. Q-Cat, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, that
was so cool.
Did I see it at VCF Southwest? Somebody had a like shadow box done up with it. I think it was LGR's video. They had a shadow box done up with a bunch of Q-Cat there were like exploded views of them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like someone spent a long time taking apart a bunch of Q-Cat.
I think one of the best things, satellite stuff that's technology things, and the first place I ever saw it was at a Radio Shack. They had their satellite setup because I'm pretty sure that like DirecTV, not DirecTV, Dish Network and Radio Shack were like
the same.
Yeah. And so, but I saw ZDTV for the very first time at Radio Shack, and I was like, what's this? And they were like, oh, this is, as an adult, they were like, oh, this is really great. This is like 24-hour technology news. And I'm like,
like G4 Tech TV before G4 Tech TV.
well, it was before. Well, ZDTV, Ziff Davis Publishing, had like they were just like, oh, we're gonna try the satellite game or the network game, and then there were shows on there, screensavers, all that type of stuff, and then I was like, and then it started showing up a little bit later on DirecTV, and I was like, wow, this is so great, and I like watched the hell out of that.
Cool.
Like, and in the very beginning, they had the whatever it's called, the screensavers, like Leo Laporte, Kate Patello, and I think there was like another host, and then they finally just boiled it down to those two because people kind of liked them the best. But they did a thing that was called like the ZDTV Netcam Network.
Mm-hmm.
They had like a little contest. They sent out 3Com netcams to people so that you could call in and ask like live questions of the hosts and things like that, and try to stump them with your technical issues. And I will tell you what, like those cameras were like 2 frames a second.
Oh,
like 100 by 100. The sensor was tiny, and it required like an ISA card in your machine, or a PCI card rather, a PCI card in your machine to drive it all. But I very quickly figured out that you could just like get rid of the camera and you could just like plug a VCR in and do like not amazing video capture, but you could do some fun video capture stuff with it too.
Cool.
So yeah,
I remember I was there for launch day of Windows Vista when I worked at Radio Shack. We had a Windows Vista party, and we had the whole place done up to the nines because we thought everybody was going to come in and buy the new Windows Vista machines. All the old XP machines that were on the floor were upgraded the night before. We stayed late, upgraded them to Vista, and nobody showed up. It was terrible.
Should have saw that coming.
Yeah. We kind of knew we were all running the beta, and we kind of all knew that this was going to be a hot pile of garbage.
All you got to do is install whatever. There was like a start menu replacement.
Yep.
Yeah, and then
turn off Arrow, and you were fine.
People were like, "Hey, this is great." Actually, you know what? Don't care for Windows Vista, but I absolutely love Longhorn. Longhorn is amazing. Or is that what? Or Mojave? What was it that they?
Longhorn was XP's.
Oh no, that's not what I meant then. But what was the thing? Because Microsoft tried to do like a little switcheroo where like people didn't like Windows Vista, but they absolutely loved it by its code name.
Yeah, I think it was Mojave. I think when they were showing people, and then the Linux guys made their own version of it where they were showing people the new Windows, and it was just KDE.
Yeah,
people were like, "This is amazing."
Yeah. I sure can't remember. Longhorn, not long. I said that.
Hold on, let me see. I think it's Windows Vista.
Okay, Mojave was the Vista name in advertising, is what Steve says. So I just remember it was something like that.
Vista, sorry, was Longhorn originally.
Okay. Yeah.
Microsoft Bob. I remember Microsoft Bob.
Who doesn't love Microsoft Bob?
My mom unironically loved Microsoft Bob. That's funny.
Well, it just probably made it easy.
Yeah. Microsoft Employee Store last month and the month before did some Microsoft Bob T-shirts.
They did. They also did a Microsoft Bob ugly Christmas sweater.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Michael MDJ got a bunch of them sent to him from Microsoft. I think Clint from LGR also got a bunch sent from Microsoft.
Oh, that's funny.
During Christmas.
The ugly T-shirts?
Yeah. The ugly sweaters.
Sweet.
Good times. But yeah, so we didn't have a lot to talk about. We kind of went on a bit of a tangent this evening.
That's all right.
One of the things I did...
First of all, you're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Well, if Trina was here, she'd be telling you about her days working for the Wells Fargo company on the Wells Fargo wagon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wells Fargo wagon is coming down the street.
I think that if Trina was here, she'd be asking like, okay, now what's a Radio Shack? What's a? It's like, okay, Trina, it's okay.
Actually, she'd be asleep.
Google exists, babe. You can get this worked out.
But one of the things I want to talk about is I don't know if you saw the notice or the news, but Paul Allen's museum is closing, and they're selling off all the collection.
Oh.
Yeah, they're selling off the entire collection. It was the Living Computer Museum.
Right.
It was in Seattle, and they're selling off pretty much all of it. So everything is going most of it's going to auction with most of the big stuff is going to auction. Sotheby's, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Sure.
some of the other stuff is going directly to museums. But yeah, it seems like it's going to be a bit of a loss for the area because it's quite a fantastic museum.
Yeah.
So, even when billionaires die, apparently they don't. At close for COVID, never really came back.
When's their last day? Or is it closed right now?
It's been closed. Yeah, it's been closed since
Since
COVID.
COVID?
Pre-COVID, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and he's been dead since 2018. So I guess nail and coffin.
Yeah.
But there's some cool stuff in there. They're actually going to auction off his PDP.
PDP 11.
Yes, thank you. The one that he actually restored himself as part
wow.
of a project, and it was to mimic the one that him and Bill worked on originally when they were first starting Microsoft. They rented time on one to, I guess, I would assume to start some of the basic stuff maybe, or to do some of the early Microsoft stuff. Yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff in the museum. There's a Lisa. There's an original Apple One, which I assume is probably not going to be auctioned off. I would assume that's going to end up in a museum. But I know that the PDP-11 machine is going to be auctioned off. They're expecting to get about $50,000 for it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Kind of sad. Apparently also had one of the largest art collections in the world. It was one that they sold recently. It was the most money ever made at an art auction. Sold for like $1.6 billion.
Wow.
In a couple of hundred pieces sold for that combined value. So long the short of it is you can't take it with you. Figure out what you're doing with it before you go.
Right.
And make sure everybody, at least 2 or 3 people in your circle, know what you want done with things.
That's true.
Because even billionaires can just leave things up in the air.
We do have to get something together for that, because I know Curtis Boyle had messaged me a while back. One of the guys in the Coco community, Mark Overholster, did a talk at Coco Fest about preserving your Coco legacy at Coco Fest 2024. And Mark would like to join on one episode of Old World Tech Friday coming up.
Cool.
To kind of go over some of that stuff about how you can set up things for end of life care for your collection and things like that. I know we've talked about it briefly on occasion, but I think having somebody like that give a more in-depth talk would be beneficial for everybody, and not just the Coco community, but like.
And of course, we are not lawyers.
Collection.
Yeah, we are not lawyers. We don't pretend to be ones.
That's true.
I think Ron has played one on television once.
I have,
but it doesn't make him an expert.
I was Ally McBeal before they recast. Yeah.
Wow.
They were like,
I would have said single female lawyer.
Yeah, I know. They were like, no, that ain't gonna work. So I was like, that's fine. I will say though that as somebody who doesn't have any control over whether this guest comes on or not, I'm gonna go ahead and veto it now, because I just think that your collection should just end up in a dumpster so that I can come and pull things out of the dumpster.
But they have to let you know ahead of time.
Listen, I'm checking all the dumpsters. I don't know how you do it, but I got a loop. I mean, I got to leave in like 5 minutes.
Like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
He knows all the dumpsters.
Island of Misfit old PCs.
So I actually was reached out to by a friend whose uncle had passed away earlier the year, and he was a bit of a vintage computer collector. So I'm actually headed there on Wednesday to take anything that's not going to end up in a dumpster. So the dumpster arrives at 10 a.m. I have to get there just before 10 a.m. to make sure the good stuff doesn't end up in the dumpster.
All you got to do is just get in the bottom of the dumpster.
Catch it all.
Yeah, and anything that you don't want, you just leave. And
in the
anything
dumpster.
you do want, you just kick it out.
Just IBM 5150 is just flying out, landing on the cement.
Just make the little reject sound from there. Like, just I don't remember what that's from. I just know that that's the sound, that it's like the reject.
It is the sound.
It is a reject sound. That's
for
funny.
Sure.
But yeah, it's interesting. They sent me some photos. There's a couple of old wood grained pieces of equipment. A couple of appear to be modems. A bunch of floppy disks. There's literally like 4 or 5 bankers boxes full of floppy disks.
Wow.
So I know that's a Steve from Mac 84's like dream right there. Box of unarchived floppy disks.
Yeah, just archive all these 8-inch floppies. Thanks. We'll be back at 2.
But yeah, so I'm, I don't think I'm the answer to the question of what to do when somebody dies, and just call somebody and have them come take all your stuff. It's nice to have an idea of what you want to do with it. Right?
Yeah. That's a big thing that actually happened in the Apple II community.
With
Because
Tony.
Yeah, Tony Diaz passed away and kind of left a lot of things like unresolved. And not just that, but he had people's equipment. He had
Yeah.
prototypes. He had one of a kind items and things like that. And vultures came in and absolutely just like took like
Mine.
all the rare and one of a kind pieces and things, stuff that belonged to other people, just ended up gone. But thankfully, Kansas Fest committee, Sean Fahey, Javier, like lots of people stepped up and went out there and helped the family go through and organize things. The family was already having kind of a bit of a tiff and things like that about trying to clean out the house and do the things. They were ready to just get a dumpster, but the K-Fest committee went in there and preserved a lot of computing history, and not just like machines, but like discs and notes and things like that. And just really amazing. And then, not that he passed away, but somebody that was thinking ahead, Roger Wagner from Roger Wagner Software, donated a lot of stuff, old machines, floppies, documentation, things like that to the K-Fest committee. And a lot of that went to the garage giveaway so that people could share and enjoy all that stuff too. So
I got a bunch of software from that you sent me from K-Fest from Roger.
I know that was a beautiful thing. Where a lot of people came and picked up things, and they were just immediately like, "I'm already thinking about other people that might enjoy this."
Nope, that was awesome. I appreciate it greatly.
Just got out there in the world, which I think is probably the best way to do it.
Gray Hair Discovery says, "Yeah, my kids say they don't want any of my collection, so I decided I'm going to sell it off and let other people enjoy it." I mean, that's
Ron
something
just
you do.
now posted a short. Apparently, my YouTube just told me.
I just posted a short.
That's what it says right now.
YouTube is terrible right now for notifications.
Time is checkout at this hotel now. Just now.
Oh, that's days ago. That's
I know. My YouTube literally just told me on my phone.
Mine is also terrible. It's like it'll tell me like Steve from Mac 84 has gone live, and I'll look at it and be like, that was a week ago.
Yep. Well, it's behind, but eventually, I guess it tells people.
Yeah, honestly, I think YouTube notifications is actually Grandpa Simpson.
Yeah,
it's just like talking about onions on his belt, and then back in my day,
which was the style at the time.
Which, of course, was the style at the time. Back in my day, pigeons used to bring us notifications. It could be weeks before we knew things happened.
But
it was the style at the time.
Grandpa in South Park, where he's like, "You need a bolo tie, Jimmy or Billy. Billy, you need a bolo tie."
Billy.
The Cash for Gold episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wouldn't mind having somebody come on and talk, and I also wouldn't mind having a lawyer, like especially somebody who has a background in like estates and wills, and even someone who has maybe a background in trusts or foundations.
That's true.
Some people's collections are big enough that they could, in fact, be their own museum. They could be their own, right? So, or
keep in mind, I will tell you, this is somebody that just went through estate stuff. Make sure that whatever you do, that you have, if you are married or in some sort of long-term relationship, that you absolutely make sure your partner is on board with whatever it is you're doing. It would be best if you were to have them co-sign whatever this agreement is, and then have it notarized, so that way that it's 100% like this is
ironclad.
This is a binding sort of thing. Now, keep in mind, a spouse largely doesn't matter. They're going to keep whatever it is, but if it's just like making sure that you're I mean, you'll be gone, you won't be able to care.
It won't be a problem.
You won't be able to care about what happens, but if you want to make sure that your decisions are known at least, and it's on paper and notarized and stuff like that, and you can do that. So but if you're super worried about it, you got a huge collection, don't be afraid to set up a business and put them in like the name of the business. Or
also, I will say, depending on what state and jurisdiction you live in, wills aren't always the best action for anything of value.
Right.
because it goes to probate, and then they take a big chunk of money, and that can take
Yep.
literally years
Mhm.
to go through probate.
Yep.
When somebody passes. So best thing would be a trust. If you
Mhm.
set up a trust instead of a business name, set up a trust
Sorry.
where
you're
they
right.
own the assets, and that avoids probate and everything else.
Yep.
Because you're just a beneficiary of the trust.
Or
so that's the best
better
way to
yet,
go.
if you have an impending illness or something like that, just give it away. Give it away while you're
Yeah,
still here.
prior.
Enjoy
Absolutely.
it now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Enjoy it
Or
now.
if you're a cold-hearted curmudgeon and you're still alive, have a will it blend party and put those very expensive products that
no.
Oh my
everybody
gosh.
wants in an industrial blender.
Ryan.
For some reason, my mind just went to the Joe Exotic tannerite,
Yes.
blowing stuff up with tannerite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or a big wood chipper and reenacting
Yes.
the scene from Fargo, but with classic Apple computers.
That's what I do with all of my Steve Buscemi's. Just right in.
What's up, youngsters? Yeah, so that's all I had to talk about today. Was with the closing of the Living Computer Museum, I believe was what it was called. It's kind of sad, kind of an end of a chapter. I mean, it was a pet project of Paul Allen. Wow, say that 10 times fast.
Yeah.
Pet project by Paul Allen. Pet project by Paul Allen. Pet project. Yeah, it's hard. But I think actually Frank has something he wants to show everybody. A very rare Canadian edition of something.
Yeah.
I picked this up online this past week, and it actually got here yesterday. I paid $100 for it, but I thought it was cool because it had the box, and it actually is the iBook that actually was purchased. The box and everything matches the laptop that came. It came with all the packaging materials that originally shipped with it, and the foam crate and all that.
Mm-hmm.
The software.
The yellow keyboard.
Welcome to Mac OS X. The yo-yo power supply.
The USB floppy disk.
Yep, a USB floppy disk that they purchased and all that stuff.
That doesn't match the aesthetics of the iBook.
I know, right? That'd be more
It was
for
the
like
cheapest one at Kmart.
It was $99.99, Bob.
But the laptop itself is
shape.
actually in very good shape. The only thing that was missing from it does work. The only thing that was missing from it, and the keyboard looks like it's like new. Super clean.
Except
the delete key was the only thing that was missing.
Like I said,
self-fulfilling prophecy.
How clean it is.
Yeah.
They shut
It's
the
very
lid
clean.
too much, and it depressed the key, and it deleted itself.
That's right. Gone.
So
Self-correcting.
those are G4 polycarbonate. What are those called?
iBook.
G3s, aren't they?
No.
It's not a G3, it's a G4.
Yeah, this
iBook.
is M6497.
That's not telling me a damn thing.
M6497.
Yeah, what's it say?
Just boot it up.
It's a G3 500 late 2001.
Oh,
There you go.
Nice.
And it even has all 4 feet still on here, which
Yeah.
some of them I've seen are just missing.
Yeah.
Yes, most of them have.
But this is actually super clean and in good shape. So whoever had this actually did take pretty good care of it, that they had all the packaging and everything as well.
It's good. It's because it belonged to some grandma. She used it like 3 months and then put it away.
So, I'll get back to this later.
Yeah.
And then
Still
she
waiting
died.
on that web page to load.
Yeah, I've got to finish this Murder, She Wrote marathon.
Do you watch Pushing Up Roses? The girl who does the reviews of Murder, She Wrote episodes?
No.
Very, very good YouTube channel. Highly recommend.
I did read something really nice the other day about Angela Lansbury, who I always suspected was just a nice person.
Yeah, she's genuinely
That she
nice.
spent a lot of that Murder, She Wrote on specifically casting people that she knew that were older actors that needed to keep their SAG credits up to stay on the insurance.
That's awesome.
Stay on the basically on the pension.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
I know that like she had we were talking about MASH earlier, but Frank Burns, the character, he was on several episodes of Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah,
2 or 3.
Well, plus she's the voice of Mrs. Potts. What's not to like about the lady?
Well, exactly.
She had a role with Jerry Orbach from Law and Order.
Yeah, you should just go ahead and look at go to Google image search, and
she was smoking.
Grandma's got it going on. is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a Betty White level of hotness from back
Oh
in the
yeah,
day.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
just a very classically beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So,
Now everybody take 5 minutes to go look at inappropriate Angela Lansbury.
Google, yeah.
Yeah.
Google search results will now start coming up with
oh my
Angela
God,
Lansbury automatically.
yeah, just be kind. Be kind.
Got Angela her Lansbury.
Yeah, don't Google Angela Lansbury, Tom Bosley, Rule 34. Don't do it.
Just don't do it.
Just don't do it. I'm sure it exists. Actually, it's really funny. The the orangish red computer down there, that's my Pumpkintosh. That's my Mac-O Lantern. Sorry, because Joe calls his stuff Pumpkintosh or something. So,
Mac-O Lantern.
yeah, it's my Mac-O Lantern. It goes outside in the fall.
So, are there eyes in it? I can kind of see like cutouts.
There's a cardboard cutout, and most of the time there's like wax paper that sits behind it, so that way that you put the little flicker candle inside, and it kind of looks like it's doing some things. I did a stream a couple of years ago on Halloween night or something where it was or to advertise because I try to do this event every year. It's called Mac-O-Lantern, where it's like just like a night or a couple of nights where you play like little scary Macintosh stuff. Last year was really bad. I had it all set up. There's a lady that wrote a like a really cool mystery game for Macintosh that was all written in oh god no, it's like director. And so Macromedia director, so it's all like scripting and all that, kind of the precursor to Flash basically. And her company was around for a really long time. She did a bunch of different stuff, and I had it all set up. We were going to do a live stream, and she contracted COVID, so she was like down and out. So so I didn't get to do anything, and then it was like punt at the last minute. So I had to skip last year. I had a stream. I had it all scheduled. We were going to play the game live, do all kinds of stuff, and then it all fell apart. But
no, too bad.
Maybe if she can keep the bugs away, maybe we could try it again this year.
Can we have a host share a new favorite computer each episode? There's so much stuff you guys have. I'd love to see some of it.
Well,
that's true. We do have a lot of stuff.
We do have a lot,
especially collectively.
Can I point to my favorite machine?
Sure.
What's your favorite machine? Quadra 700?
Sorry, that one.
Is that the DOS card one?
No. Actually, I can't point to it because I'm bad at this game. But squished between the Quadra 700 and the 2SI, it is a UMax like C500. It is the best clone. It is the best clone machine. It is fast. It is great. It kicks the crap out of because it uses a different motherboard. It does not use the Tanzania or whatever, like the motherboard that Apple did in like the the Power Mac 4400 and the Motorola used it, and like a ton of companies use it. And that board sucks.
300.
It's what is this? The 300?
The Star Max, the 3000.
Oh no. I've got one of those too. That's right next. See, I can point right at that. That's that one. But no, it's a UMax I think it's a C300, C500, something like that. But anyway, it's really, really great. They're wonderful little machines. They did a bunch of stuff that other clone makers didn't. They socketed their processors, but you still have to have like a very specific processor for those machines. I think there are a few Sonnet G4 upgrades that are compatible or supposedly compatible, but I don't care enough. I mean, it's pretty damn fast. So.
I have a Sonnet card in this Power Computing Power Tower Pro 225 over here.
Yeah.
The fact it's called a Power Tower.
Yeah.
Is the best part of that.
Yes, the Tower of Power.
Yes. It's a Slant 6.
It might be connected to this, I think. Yes, I ran an upgrade card in mine. Thumbs up.
There you go. If you're into that kind of thing. I will say the only limitation of the machine, 2 PCI slots. If it had 3 PCI slots, it'd be amazing because you'd have, whatever you call it. Because really, you got to think about it anymore on those machines. They're IDE. I really recommend a PCI based SATA controller and a network card. And so
What was the announcement this week,
laptop.
Ron, about some sort of
What was the
Six
announcement this week,
laptop.
Ron, about some sort of card for Macintosh?
Oh, that I made that I was talking about?
Yeah.
I have a 386 laptop, Amstrad.
Nice.
Nice.
It does work.
Nice. There is a project where a guy basically figured out how to squish an emulator, and there's more and more of this stuff happening all the time now. Because I saw like a Pico NES, where it's a NES emulator that fits on a Pi Pico.
Oh, that's
and,
cool.
Yeah, and there's just a little adapter board that's like, oh yeah, here's video output and controller ports and stuff. And I think as it sits right now, just because of the limited like UART and everything, or not UART, but GPIO and stuff for all of that. It's basically like one player. But if you just want to play one player games, it's probably fine. But it's a NES emulator that runs on the Pi Pico, fits on a little board you could send off to JLC PCB and have manufactured for you and assembled and all that. But the thing is, there's a project where it's like Pico Mac, where it is a selectable Mac 128 or a Mac 512 on a Pi Pico, and the person that came out with the project showed like a really like janky sort of like perf board adapter where it's like, oh, there's a VGA out and it's got spot for power and things like that. And so what I did is I just turned around and I made I designed a board that makes that very nice and clean. You just provide your Pi Pico, you flash it with the stuff off the project page. You do need a USB OTG on the go adapter if your keyboard does not have like a hub built into it.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty great.
So what's the rarest computer you own? See, that's hard for me to figure out. I got a lot of crap.
You have a lot of crap, Frank.
And
not just that, but it's just like the most random. Where it's just like you're just all over the damn road.
Well, that's my thing is like I've got like ADHD or ADD when it comes to computer stuff or hobbies. Like
you're like James, what's his name?
Whatever it is, the day.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
Yes, exactly.
From I have the rarest thing I own. I'm not sure how many pets they made. First generation pets. That's I'm not sure what the number, but I guess like they only made 9,000 SX64s. So that might be the rarest thing I own.
Yeah.
I don't know what mine would be, honestly.
Well, I mean, you can even interpret that as rarest today, like what survived.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd say the rarest machine that I own that like survived is, I don't know.
I have a lot of stuff. I really don't know.
I would say maybe one of your clones, Ron. Like, because
I don't know. They made a lot of those, and I think that.
But a lot of them were thrown out.
Yeah, too. I think that a lot of them are still around, though. If you ask the right people, I would say maybe the absolute rarest thing that's still like in working condition. I got a Quadro 950. That's like basically like the last one of the last, if not last, 68040. 68,000 machines that Apple produced. They kept it around for a long time until they could kind of buff up their PowerPC server offerings, because again, that machine had like 8 new bus slots. I mean, it's a high end workstation kind of stuff. So, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and then like there's also then you take consideration software. There's some of the games I have are harder to find. Like I have a copy of Ultima 3, which is not like super. I mean, it's rare, I guess.
I do have a 20th anniversary Mac, but I don't really like it.
No one likes it. They suck.
I bought it because it was cool, and then I used it once, and I was like, I don't really like this thing.
Here's something of special interest for you, Frank, because you have a 20th anniversary Mac.
Yep.
You've only got like the one PCI slot in that, so you probably want to dedicate that to hard drive controller.
Yep.
Our Androda, who is big on the Blue SCSI project, is actually now making modern ComSlot 2 network cards.
Oh, that's
what I was thinking about when I said.
Well, that's one of the biggest reasons why I don't use the damn machine. I was like, I can't network with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like everything I have to load on zip disks or something.
Well, I mean, you could always use a
Blue SCSI with Wi-Fi.
Or yeah, you could always Blue SCSI Wi-Fi
That's true.
and go that route.
Because it otherwise it's a neat machine, but I'm limited. Now I do
Yeah.
have an accelerator for it, a sonic accelerator for it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
again, there's only so much you can do with it. I played Snood on it, South Park Snood. That's
course,
probably about it.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's a laptop that's kind of
Now, other than the 20th anniversary Mac, I would say maybe one of my rare ones that I would consider a rare one is the Mac 2 that I got that was Apple owned and used at Apple, has the Apple asset tag on it. Or the fact that my Apple 3 actually works. Like, that's another one. My Apple 3 works.
The only other one that I would say that I have is rare is actually right behind me right now on this side. It's currently taken apart, but it's a Xerox CPM machine.
Oh, those are cool.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So that it would have came with an 8-inch floppy drive and a printer, and it's we got a full mechanical keyboard, but it's a Xerox CPM, and the ones I have a DOS card in them. So it can run like it's like CPM, but then you can load some software and it drops you into a DOS like environment.
So Ron, speaking of the TAM, I don't know if you remember or not, but when I first got the TAM, you had sent me a PCI ribbon cable so that I can actually locate it outside of the machine and have 2 slots.
Yeah.
So that I do want to 3D print some type of case.
Oh, sure.
Or a little external box, kind of like how Alienware did, or the Steam machines did, where they had the external graphics card. Something similar for the TAM, so that I can have extra.
Yeah, if you do that,
it's so limited.
Do that, you should really investigate, because there are. That's mostly for troubleshooting stuff, and that's okay. But I would tell you though that there are companies out there that make those PCI expansion chassis, and it will be like just a very thin card that plugs in the slot, and it has it looks like a SATA connection, and it just uses a SATA cable.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, for cable management, that will save you a lot of headaches.
Yeah,
and it'll be a box, and it'll just have like 2 PCI slots in it.
That's my biggest worry, because of the form factor with the TAM. My thing was bumping the back of the computer and snapping something off.
Oh yeah.
You know, if I jury rigged stuff on the back.
Yeah, I know that. Or just do what Action Retro did, which is just leave the back of the machine off.
That's true.
Because you're playing around, just leave the
you
back.
Can also, I believe there's a 3D print file for the back of the machine.
Yeah, I think so. For the expanded one
that you could that you'll put the bump out on it,
so
or allow you to run cables through it.
JC says, challenge: send an email to each other using only your oldest computer somehow. Now, I bought. Now, this is actually a lot easier now than it used to be, because with Blue SCSI Wi-Fi and things like that.
I was going to say, Jesus Christ, if you had been watching, Marchintosh?
Yeah,
we did Global Talk.
I bought the old net serial Wi-Fi adapter,
right?
Which lets you use PPP and slip compatible, modem and whatnot emulation. I still haven't tried it, so it's one of it's one of them things where that would be really neat to be able to get some of the older machines on serial connection, like to a BBS or whatever.
I bought one of those and never did anything with it, and I think I gave it away. That's what I do a lot of times too.
Yeah.
Wait, show me the package on that. Oh yeah, I love those blue mail or purple mail.
Now this one I actually did order from the.
No, you did. Yes.
I did.
I was like, I couldn't remember who I sent it to. I was like,
no, not me, not this time.
I can't.
You send me cool stuff, but that's not one of them. The tracking number he sent me was for somebody in Virginia, so I was like, great. Mine got lost in the mail and ended up in Alexandria, Virginia, somewhere. But he just sent me the wrong tracking number, and mine came the next day.
That's cool.
Really nice guy.
Speaking of cool stuff that you've been sent, Ron, how is the graphics card working that I sent you?
It's working great. It's been sitting on top of my on top of the fridge for at least a month. It is doing an amazing job. I've not seen a single piece of paper come flying off the top of the fridge. Actually, no. I need to get back to playing around with that machine. The big issue is this: I've got a ton of stuff. that I'm taking to VCF Midwest this year to just get rid of. And I bought, I think from RetroFox, I bought a Ali-based Super Socket 7 motherboard. It had like a
Awesome.
K6 500 and some other stuff, and it was really great, but I could not get it to reliably stick the landing with like Windows 95 or Windows 98 drivers. It would always, like, on a reboot, it would just like slide off its cracker with the video card stuff. I'm pretty sure that it's more of a function of that chipset just having issues. Very fast DOS machine, really, really great, but not what I'm needing. So I'm taking that to Midwest. And then I've got a P2 450 setup that is probably going to be the ideal sort of application for that video card, because I've also got like a Voodoo 2 and some other stuff and all that. And yeah, I will one day when I clear the pile of other projects, I'll get back to that. So thank you again for sending that to me.
Yeah.
That's the thing with me, is I get so busy with other stuff. Like I order a bunch of stuff for a project, and then I just it sits there, and eventually I still didn't get back to it.
Well, that's like we were talking. I cleaned up my room here to get back into it, and I built a pile of these things, these Necroware, Texas. What are the Dallas clock chip?
Dallas clock chip replacements.
Yep. Yeah, I got a pile of them built, and I've never actually tested any of them. I just built a bunch of them. And the problem is I don't have a battery.
Oh yeah,
I need to order some L3s. I think they're on Amazon. But,
I'm thinking it should just be a CR 2032, because you've swapped one rare thing for a different rare thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now apparently it's just a hearing aid battery, so it should be fairly.
I'll just go buy Belltone and just say what until they give you one.
Don't do what I did, Ryan. When I ordered my CR 2032s, I ordered a box of 100, and then I somehow got with auto ship, and then I got 300 of them now. Before I finally realized what happened.
So what you should do is you should just start in your Christmas cards, start sending everybody.
Start sending 20 CR 2032s to everybody. Everybody's getting batteries for Christmas.
You're getting batteries.
You're my new battery of the month club. I'm sending a dozen to everybody. one for each month this year. Oh my gosh, that's a hoot.
That's funny.
But yeah, so several comments back, Gutbomb said that he liked the format of this week's episode. You should do it like this every week. Also, I believe Joe, toward the beginning, said, he enjoyed this format as well. So it is something that we may have to look into. Yeah, because having a scripted thing kind of makes sense to some degree, I guess, for preparation's sake. But I think it's much better with the free flow. I mean, we kind of went on a few changes, but it's all cool stuff that's relevant.
Yeah.
Or was relevant.
Mm-hmm. It still is, as long as you remember.
So on my drive to the dairy plant that I do service at, I pass this one house and I laugh every time I go by it, because this dude has like 15 satellite dishes on the one side of this building. And he's always out there messing with them. And I'm just like, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out what it is he's actually doing. And I laugh because I get like that, not with the satellite dishes, but with computer stuff. And I'm just guessing maybe he's into radio stuff or things like that. And I just, like, one day when I have time, I just want to stop and ask this guy what he's doing without being weird. It's like, what is it to do with all these satellites? Because it could be something really cool.
That's funny.
Or it could be something
or it's
sinister.
possible that it's Neil Breen, and he just wants you to watch Faithful Findings with him.
I know, right?
Right.
He'll be like, can you look at any of these laptops? I mean, none of the hinges work, but if you can look at these laptops for me, that'd be great.
Awesome. Well, I guess we've been at this an hour and 32 minutes here now. So I guess if anybody, maybe we'll go around and if there's anything else any of you want to say or mention around. Is there anything coming up for you that?
Yeah. I actually I moved everything out of the way, but give me 1 second. So, as I love to shamelessly self-promote, I did want to tell people that I've got a couple of different product things that are coming up. If you all are familiar, I've got TTL adapters and power supply adapters and things like that for a bunch of different older
I need to get
Macs.
that.
This is now sort of integrating a couple of different ideas into one board based on some requests by different people. There's going to be 2 different revisions. There'll be one that basically this can be placed inside a case. Like if you've got like a PC case or something like that you're using for whatever your cat Mac, your little whatever your Mac project is. This is the one for the SE30. There'll be 2 versions where you could like mount this over on the side on the case, or there's another version that basically just uses the pass-through. You can just snap that down right in the J12 socket, and away you go. So, yeah. And I've got like a ton of other things. A lot of it you can see on jcm-1.com.
That's awesome.
Awesome. And we should actually, I'll put us all back in the right order here, but I'll also put on our banners because, you know, that's important to support those.
Also, go on to jcm-1.com and order some of the Mac Raminators.
Yes.
For your classic Macs.
Yep.
So you can add bronze board as well as a Raminator and really get your classic Mac souped up.
Yeah, you can drop a bunch of stuff in your SE30 and have some fun. Keep in mind, that's Joe's shop. Joe's got a lot of like things from our community of friends in there. A lot of it's like low dollar kind of things. So I mean, you can go in there and very easily spend $20 and come away with like 3 or 4 different things that you can play around with for any of your retro computing needs. So I've actually eventually one of these days I'll also have. Sorry, y'all. I'll have. You guys are familiar. I do these little battery kits.
Yeah, those are cool.
That it's got the battery buster guy on the back, but I'm also doing ones for PowerBooks now.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so you got a
cool.
little thing you drop in your PowerBook. The only problem is GCM drilled the holes wrong, so I've got to fix the holes on these. But then after I do that, they'll be ready to go. And then there'll be just a blank version where you can do whatever you want to do. So it's basically just like a little platform. The little rectangle here, that's exactly where the modem lines up. So the idea is if you're using a blue SCSI inside your PowerBook, you can just glue a SD card extender in place, so that way that you can, without having to take your PowerBook apart, you can very easily pull your SD card, change files. If you have some kind of issue where you nuke your machine, it'd be very easy to recover. Then you're not taking the whole darn machine apart. So, but there'll be a bunch of stuff showing up over there in Joe's shop one of these days.
I've got a bunch of blue SCSIs to put together.
Oh yeah,
just version 1s.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also had a box of Ron's battery boards. I just don't know where it is.
Don't worry. You can just buy more.
I know. But I put them all together, and they were, like, ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I usually just give them away to people. I'm like, here, have a battery board.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, it's for a million of different applications. So it's like it's like, I just need 3 volts somewhere. You can throw a little foam on the back, stick it on the side. It's got an on-off switch. You know, a couple different ways to connect your leads. Yeah, it's fun and it's cheap. It's literally the same price as those little crappy cat battery things, like slide from the slot. So,
because we all know these are the bane of everybody's existence.
That's right.
Yes, get those going.
I've got a collection started with them. I'm going to put them in a jar. But yeah, so I anytime I bring those with me, any events I go to locally and hand them out to people. I have them in all my 486s and in my Macintoshes. I'll have them in them. So
nice. I'm happy to hear that.
They work very well, and they help preserve for the next generation. I think in several hundred years, some archaeologist is going to bust open an old classic, and they're going to see a small cartoon version of Ron and be like, what is that?
They'll be like, this was obviously their king.
Yeah, this was their god.
They placed him on all of their lithium, their most valuable possession.
Yeah. Well, if it's the what's it called to show up and it's not gold pressed latinum.
The
Ferengi.
The Ferengi. Yeah.
This culture for some reason seems to like lithium.
Yeah. They set off nuclear bombs inside their atmosphere,
Are they crazy?
and they think that we're savages.
The Ferengi.
Mm.
Rules of
Interesting
acquisition.
guys.
There. Cool. Well, guys, again, and ladies and gents watching at home,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your patronage.
Yes. Remember, as you consider your retro computing entertainment options, we are always pleased when you spend time with us.
Indeed.
That is true.
It's
Thank
true.
you
We have
all.
so many
Have
options.
a good night.
Have a great night, guys. Take care.